Yay! It's Thursday.
Yes, again.
We're here.
How the week passes quickly.
It goes in 7 days. It's amazing,
It
isn't it?
does. Do you think it's something to do with age?
Pardon?
That the days pass more quickly? An age thing?
I don't know, is it?
Do you ever get the days mixed up?
Well, we all do that, but I blame the booze. Do you, Matt?
No, every day seems like a week to me. I'm that young.
Oh, well, you see, that's it. When you're working, it does seem...
Excuse me, I would thank you. Do you mind not using language like that in here?
You see, the week drags, doesn't it, when you work?
You've done it again. I can go off people, you know.
Why is that?
Fancy using a word like that. It's
Work.
a 4-letter word, work.
It is.
You might as well sit there and say, fuck.
Not really a comparison, but...
I don't know. It's a job these days.
Yes, what a good start.
Shall we do the show?
I think so,
I think
yes.
we should. Good evening, everybody. Sorry about that. Yes, I do apologise for any Greek, Roman or Anglo-Saxon you may have heard. We've got a packed show for you tonight. There's going to be news. There's going to be reviews. There's no how-tos. And yes, I'm just going to get into it and go. Now, let's start. Shall we start with the news?
Yes.
We'll start with the news.
Always best to start with the news.
Start with the news. Now, the news, first item of news. There's been a lot of messing around lately with people from public health. Right? Whoops. Gave the game away there a little bit. People from public health not getting delved in and telling folks how it is like they should be straight away. Well, today, Action on Smoking and Health, Ash London, released 2 new documents. Now, I knew these were coming, but I didn't know when. And it's their briefing on electronic cigarettes, also known as, it says here, vaporizers. Right?
Yes, right.
Kind of important. I mean, it's not important. But the briefing provides answers to some of the most frequently asked questions about electronic cigarettes and includes references to other sources of information. Here's the summary. This is what Ash is telling everybody out there about e-cigs. It says, electronic cigarettes deliver nicotine in a vapour rather than in smoke. Good thing, tick. Compared to tobacco products, electronic cigarettes are significantly safer. 2 ticks there, because what they're saying is electronic cigarettes are not tobacco products. Compared to tobacco products, because e-cigs aren't, electronic cigarettes are significantly safer. 2 ticks. In the UK, the devices are used primarily as an aid to cutting down or quitting smoking, and evidence suggests they compare favourably with other stop smoking aids. Tick. In the UK, there is no evidence that use of electronic cigarettes leads to take-up of smoking. Tick, 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 tick. Electronic cigarettes in the UK will be regulated by the EU Tobacco Products Directive from 20th of May 2016 unless manufacturers opt for products to be licensed by the medicines regulator, the MHRA. Is what it says there. And then there's a whole load of stuff here. What are they? How do they differ from tobacco products? And I like that bit, the fact that they differ from tobacco products. This is Ash London telling all those tossers in California and the FDA and the CDC and anybody else that cares to listen, including Europe, these are not tobacco products. Good for that. Tick.
In case I forget when you finished. Right, used as a smoking cessation aid.
Yes.
You wonder if there are any statistics that say, right, they're prescribed or whatever, as a smoking cessation aid. The number of people who go on to use them as a permanent substitute to smoking.
Oh, you're opening a can of worms there.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I know exactly where you're coming from, and it's one of my hobby horses.
It would be interesting.
It's been done.
Has it?
The Smoking Toolkit Survey that Professor Robert West does.
Right.
He knows everybody that's on e-cigs personally.
And is it significant, the people who actually stick to them rather than stopping altogether?
Yeah, the problem here is there is a misunderstanding about e-cigs. That language that where they're talking about what you've just said, this whole cessation bit. That language is being driven from an area, tobacco control, that wants to see everybody off nicotine.
Yes.
And that's the wrong approach. We're not talking about cessation. E-cigs are not about smoking cessation. They are about replacing smoking. There's the world of difference. Smoking cessation, and I don't care how many times people in public health in the UK say this, smoking cessation is about getting rid of nicotine. That's what it's about. Smoking cessation is all about quitting nicotine, everything, completely. And they keep on saying, well, if you're not smoking, ergo you have completed smoking cessation. That's true, but that's not where the tobacco control people are coming from now. They are now looking to get rid of nicotine as well, and to them cessation means getting shot of nicotine.
Right, yeah.
So I don't like that term being brought into e-cigs.
Yeah, I mean, I know you haven't finished yet, but the other point, the second point that you made, that it was significantly safer than smoking.
Yes.
Do they develop that later on?
Oh yes, they go through and they give you all the figures, the 95% and all of that kind of stuff. If I trot across to the camera, I will get these numbers right. It covers everything. Is there a risk to bystanders? Is there buggery? That's all they needed to have written, really. Are electronic cigarettes effective in helping smokers quit? That's the bit that grinds me gears and gets up me sneck a bit, because it's not about that. Why might electronic cigarettes help people to quit smoking? Blah, blah, blah. Who uses them? Are they a gateway? How are they regulated? What's the involvement of... And you just knew this bit had to come in. What's the involvement of the tobacco industry? And I'm going to say, there's a big field out there full of the... I don't give. I couldn't give a monkey's whether the tobacco industry is involved or not. If it's e-cigs and they're e-cigs as we know them, they're good, end of. I don't care who produces them. You may choose to differ, you may choose not to buy, tobacco produced stuff, tobacco company produced stuff, that's fine too, but they're there for people that want them. And at the end of the day, if the tobacco companies decide, well hell, we're making out of lit tobacco, we're just going to go into e-cigs, that's fine too. I don't have a problem with that.
So be it.
What the hell is the problem? There isn't one. Again, they're trying to find problems where none exist. Now, yes, it does the whole how safe are electronic cigarettes is there, look. And it talks about Professor Michael Russell and stuff like that. Now, funnily enough, we've got David Sweanor coming in later, who'll be talking about a lot of this.
Right.
Yes. And I'm interviewing him live next week for next week's show. So yes, this is pre-recorded stuff, but I'm doing some live stuff with David for next week's show. So look, this whole thing that they've come out with is actually pretty good. The only bit I've got a problem with is this whole medicinalisation and smoking cessation bit of it. I do not, for one moment, think that every smoker wants to quit. They don't, and so I don't think it's 70%
really that
either.
Sounds to me like quite a good overview.
Yeah, yeah. It's the kind of thing that you would take to, I don't know, somebody who was kind of saying, "Oh, they're worse than fags, them man. You'll get a bleb on the back of your neck, your knob will drop off, your left eye will go purple." You know what they do? Yeah. Well, you shove that in front of them and say, "Look, this is from Action on Smoking and from Action on Smoking and Health. They hate tabs. This is what they're telling you. Read it. Don't be such a tosspot." They've gone even further actually, and they are looking as well at the impact of the EU Tobacco Products Directive on e-cigarette regulation in the UK.
I should take a copy of all that.
You should. I shall email this at you, Keith, then you can sit and read it at your leisure.
Thank you.
Whilst you are vooping in the morning.
Right.
Please
do.
Do you voop in the morning, do you?
Yes.
Good lad, that's what I like to hear. It's nice to know. See, even royalty voops. Where were we? Yes. So it says here, it says, in May 2016, the EU's revised Tobacco Products Directive, TPD, will come into force. This revision includes many updates to regulations on tobacco products, but also sets out new regulations covering e-cigarettes. The UK government has made it clear that it will not be seeking to gold-plate the rules coming from the EU and will implement them to create a minimum burden on business. A minimum burden on business. Many e-cigarette companies and current vapers have had concerns about these new regulations, and a great deal has been written about what they'll mean for the market and the products available. This document explains the regulatory framework and blah blah blah. Now, this is the bit I want everybody to see, because this is a change. This is a significant change from what we knew in November, and it's quite important that people see this. So here it is. I was going to say pay attention, but I'm not a teacher anymore, am I? No. You boys at the back, put it away, pull your zip up and listen. Right. From May the 20th, 2016, e-cigarettes will be available for sale under EU TPD regulation. There are transitional arrangements allowed by the TPD so that in the UK, electronic cigarettes or refill containers which are not in compliance with the TPD can be released for sale on the UK market until 20th of November 2016. From 20th of May 2017, all products sold to consumers must be fully compliant with the TPD. I need to repeat that. We had been told as of November last year and understood that new product could carry on, obviously, up until May the 20th. That has now been extended to November the 20th. So new products can be placed on the market up until the 20th of November. Apparently without notification on the 19th of May. Now, Tom Pruen of ESETA checked this out with Ash, and Ash has checked it out, and the form of words that they have used has been approved by the Department of Health themselves. So new product can be placed on the market up until the 20th of November without notification. And
Can I just chime in there, Dave?
Yes, of course.
I've got a theory as to why you can buy new products up until and including the 20th of November.
Go on then.
It happens to be my birthday that day.
Ah,
So they want me to buy a new mod on my birthday.
that's what it is.
Wow.
It's because it's Matt's birthday. Now we know. Well, do we sing it? No,
we'll have
sing
to
it then.
remember that.
Well,
yes, make a note of that.
Yes, so on one hand we'll be celebrating Matt's birthday. On the other hand, we'll not have time to celebrate Matt's birthday because we'll all be out down the vape shop buying everything we can get our hands on. 20th of November. November the 20th of November, 2016.
And he's 25.
There you go. Now, I see somebody whip it up in chat. I said, middle finger to the EU. Yes, I think that's exactly what this is. I think this is the Department of Health and British government saying, well, actually, we got snowed by a fuckwit called Subri. That should be the title of a poem, shouldn't it? We got snowed by a fuckwit called Subri. By
Anna.
Jeremy. Yeah. She lied through her teeth.
Well,
As far as I'm aware, e-cigarettes have been taken out of the TPD. So yes, this is basically what they're doing. What they've done is it's what we said before. They're not gold plating. It's called a copy out procedure. So they just copied the words out and then put the meaning on them, the laxest meaning on the words that they possibly legally can, is what they've done. So this is where we are. This is where we stand. Now, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's good because there's ages left till November when you can go and buy new products that you haven't seen before. That's good. That's excellent. And you'll still be able to buy them right the way through until the 20th of May 2017. So anything new can come out until November of this year, and you can still buy them until 20th of May 2017. Problem is, as I see it, who's going to be pissed off by that? Who's it going to piss off? It's not going to piss any vapors off, is it?
No.
So they're not really going to be overly keen on getting involved in protests and going to see their MPs and, you know, stuff like that, because nothing's going to happen. And by the time we get to May the 20th, 2017, we're too bloody late for anything to happen.
Yes. Political strategy.
It is. I'm pissed off that I'm not pissed off. That's how pissed off I am.
I didn't know Suebury had been involved.
Suebury? Yeah, she was the idiot woman that while Linda McAvan was in Brussels, not recognising any of the greats in tobacco control, if you like, or nicotine science, she had no idea who Peter Hayek was, you know, or any of the rest
She's
of
the
them.
woman I throw things at the television when she's on.
I'd throw things
Have you
at
ever
her.
seen her?
Aye, I've met her.
Really?
I'd clip her as soon as look at her, I'm telling you. Honestly. Lion cow. Absolutely
Makes
is.
Mrs. Thatcher look like a pussycat.
Yes. She herself looks a bit, never mind, don't take me there, because that would be libelous, and I'm in a bad enough mood to start with her, at any rate, it has to be said. So that's where we are. That's where we are with respect to the TPD. So Ash has said it, and they'll back it. It'll be interesting to see what more they say as well as weeks go on. There's another bit of news though.
Right.
Did you know that if you don't know how to use Google, if you don't know how other people use Google, you can get millions of dollars to tell other folks lies about how people use Google? And here it all is. I'll show you it, because this is... Internet searches reflect vaping's surge. Snappy headline, isn't it? Have you surged lately while you've... Yeah. The Oxford Dictionary selected vape as in to smoke from an electronic cigarette.
Smoke.
Whose desk can I borrow to bang me head on? You
smoke from the
fuckwits. Right, yes. As word of... Never mind, let's go down there. One finding from the story of particular concern to health officials and researchers is that when it comes to vaping, people are, by and large, searching for information on how and where to get vaping products, not for information on quitting cigarette smoking or the health effects of vaping. You naughty, naughty people! Trying to find out where to buy things instead of trying to find out where to be a Puritan and a prohibitionist, you naughty, naughty people! Anyway... Internet users' search history bears this out. Here's Williams and a team of colleagues from across the country examined search history from Google Trends, which includes statistics on what specific words people say. Oh, look, I'm not going to go reading through this, because frankly, even if it was printed on toilet roll, it's not fit to wipe your arse with. Bottom line on it, right, look, I think everybody knows, because I make no secret of this at all. I suffer from the old man's floppity disease, right? It's not disease, it's called erectile dysfunction. Right?
Yes, just struggling to see the relevance, but...
There is a relevance,
Oh,
there
right,
is a relevance. Now, donkeys yonks ago, when first this was, well, I was going to say pointed out to me, but that's hardly the phrase to use, when I discovered...
Drawn to your attention.
Well, it wasn't. Yes, it was drawn, but not to attention. Yes. When I first discovered that this particular reality was rearing its ugly head, right, I needed to get some advice on what to do.
Yeah.
And you've got two courses of action. One is to go down to your doctor.
Yes.
And then the doctor will say, it's not working. No, they don't. They'll say, right, yes, what you need is a boner pill, David. That's generally speaking what they say. And then they'll say, you can have Viagra, you can have Cialis, and there's new ones coming out all the time. You can either do that, or you can search erectile dysfunction medication. And then you go and read it up. Now, I'm a child of the internet, right?
Right.
So rather than go down and say the quack, because mine's a woman. And yeah, she is. She is. You go walking in, and do you really want to sit down in front of a gorgeous 38, 39, 40-year-old woman and say, excuse me?
There's only one woman down.
Shush, man, I'm talking. I go and see the woman. I didn't like the men. They've got rough hands. Bear in mind, the last time I went down there was because I had a lump on one of my bollocks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, that's the last time, years and years ago. And they've, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you go and see the doctor and say, "Doctor, I've got a lump on one of my goalies," and he goes and grabs it, and then if the little man raises his head, imagine how you feel.
Where's this leading to?
This is what I'm trying to tell you. Right, so I decided the best thing to do was do so I web searched on the web, erectile dysfunction medications, came up Viagra, blah, 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 found out how to get them legally and did that. After that, what I'm doing is I'm looking for better prices.
Yes.
So you type in, I don't sit and type in erectile dysfunction medication or how to get a boner when you can't. I type in Cialis 5 milligram. Price, boing, and then it comes back and gives me all the prices of what it is and where it is. So once you know an e-cig is going to do what you want it to do, either replace smoke and help you stop smoke and give you flavour or whatever, you do not type into a search smoking cessation, what are these e-cig things that the doctors have been talking about on various different programs. You just type in Kanga, whatever it is you're searching for, price, boing. Apparently, according to these tossers, you type in shop or you type in buy. No, you don't. There's Google shopping. These asshats are being paid bazillions of dollars for not knowing how Google works, for not knowing how people search, for not knowing why people search for what they search for, and then telling frigging lies about what they've discovered because they don't know how to use it. Was that a bit ranty?
An interesting comparison.
But it works, doesn't it?
Yes, I see where you're coming from.
Would you type in, if you were going to go and buy a pair of trainers, right?
Yes.
Going on your holidays, are you going to type in pair of trainers for running so that I can get fit and lose weight? Of course you're not.
No.
Does a woman type in, cross your heart bra so my boobs do not bounce off my knees and then it ricochet into my eyes? No! You type in what you want because you want to find the price. You don't do what these idiots think you're doing. Anyway,
Yes.
look.
Yes.
Aha. Guess who's lost his blob?
Yes.
Yes. Because there's...
I know what people are saying about that.
What's that? There's some crapping again, is it? Sorry, I went a little bit too...
Yes, I would have chosen another analogy.
Are we alright, Matt? Sound-wise that's coming through?
It sounds okay to me at the moment.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but that's on the Hangout. What's it like on
Yeah. I'm monitoring, don't worry.
Right, you go. I'll tell you what. Let's move into something that I filmed earlier. I was going to go on, I'll cover it. Well, right, I'm just going to... I'll talk over this. This is what happens when you give the wrong people the wrong amount of money. This is a game that is all about shooting smokers. It's been sorted out in the States. It's been done in the States by an outfit called Congregate, and it is about shooting smokers. It's not anti-smoking, it's anti-smokers. It's been boiling my piss. I wouldn't mind betting it's being funded by one of the anti-smoking organisations in the States. It's really annoying me, and I tell you what we're going to do.
Well, you wouldn't need a master's degree to know where that came from, would you?
No, you wouldn't, would you? It's ridiculous. It's just completely wrong. Look, I'm not even going to show people anymore about it, because if I get onto that one, the sound will be crackling so high, because I should be shouting blue murder. Let's go into one of the reviews that we didn't hit from last week, and I do apologise that we didn't get to it last week, but we'll get to it this week. It's the VaporFlasks. Here we are at the Let's Have a Look at It desk, so we can have a look at it. And what I'm having a look at this time is two of the Vape Forward VaporFlasks. I have got the light and I've got the stout. There are lots of similarities, very few differences. Let's have a look at them. First up is the light. Now, you will see, if I get it the right way, you can see the curvature there of the flask, the kind of hip flask notion of it all. And the stout is, well, that's exactly what it is. It's stout. Stout in that it's big and fat in comparison. If I put the two together in the same sort of orientation, will you be able to see? I don't know. Right, this is the light. This is the light one. The stout one. Mr. Kitson has the more flasky one. You will notice as I wipe this that it's yeah, a bit fingerprinty, but that's the way it goes. Now, so if they're very, very similar. Thing is, this one takes a 26,650. That's the stout. The light, on the other hand, he said, try to do it on camera. Find the little, there you go. The light takes an 18,650. Stand the two of them together. Obviously, there are going to be differences in the capacity. So, how does this all go together? Well, let's take the stout out of the way just for the moment and concentrate on the light. As you can see, the battery door swings and it latches via this little latchy thing here. So battery in, and just to check, yep, plus up, battery in, swing the door closed, and it latches in, as you might see. At the top here, as you might expect, 510 connector, no ego threading on this one. And then we've come to recognise, I think, that we have a fire button, an up and a down, and you may well recognise this chipset. Let's stick a tank on it and see how it goes and see what it'll do with the tank. So I'm going to put onto it. You may recognise that, you may not. It's a Rafale, a Ewell Rafale is what that is. And if I press the button, you should be able to see that it's saying 0.2 ohms. I've got it set to 55 watts, but this is a stainless steel one. So let's go into the menu. So to get into the menu on this one, it's 4 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see wattage, so let's move up through them. Bypass, temperature NI, temperature TI, and temperature stainless steel, which is where I want to be. So I just press the button and I am now in temperature in centigrade at 75 watts, which is the maximum this can do, and it's reading 2 ohms. So press the button and there you go. Weak battery it says, which is an interesting one given that I've just charged it. That's because it's just pumping it through. Let's give it a try and see how it'll vape. So here we are. No weak battery there. That's stainless steel temperature control on the light. And it absolutely cakes it out. Let's back to the close-up cam. So yes, 4 clicks takes you into set you up mode, if you like. 3 clicks does very little. 5 clicks turns it off. You can see there it says vape forward. You can also see that the place is absolutely minging with vapor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to switch it back on. There it is, back on. Down here, USB, it is USB chargeable, and yes, it will pass through. Is this all covered in the manual? Well, let's have a look at the manual and see. And here it is, the user manual for the VaporFlask Lite. And it is quite straightforward. It tells you everything you need to know. Shows you how to put the batteries in. Gives you the TCR value ranges, because you can look at the 303, 304, 316 and 317 stainless steels, and those are the temperature control values. Whole host of information, low atomizer, no atomizer, all of that, and then it goes into pour notre amis français, it goes into French. It's all the usual stuff. So it's straightforward and simple. So that's the light which will go up to the whole 75 watts. That's that one. So what about the stout then? Is the stout any different? Well, it is slightly. Let's go to the stout. First thing I probably need to point out is that the stout comes with this, which is an adaptator, an adaptofer-debralizer, so you can put an 18650 in where the 26650 ought to go. But let's stick with that. Now, I have here an E-Fest. I don't trust it. I've got some better ones on order, which I'll talk about live. But let's bung that in. And again, you just press it down slightly, clip the whole thing together, and it clips in. That's it, done. Menu, pretty much the same sort of thing, but the major difference with the biggie is that it goes up to, the stout rather, goes up to 100 watts instead of 75 watts. Otherwise, the two are pretty much identical. In fact, if I put them in the same, I mean the spacing, everything is the same. Yeah, absolutely identical. There's very little difference, and you'll see I've got the stout already set into temperature mode. So let's stick the same atomizer onto it, same tank I should say. This is the Raffaele, Raphael, whatever. Similar sort of setup. Let's go up camera one. So yes, I'm set here in stainless steel, and in the Fahrenheit scale I run it around about 500 to 540. It just depends. Let's try it. Yeah, it's reading it. And the beast is working very well, as you can see. So what about comfort in the hands and stuff like that? Well, yes, very, very comfortable to hold. I particularly like the stout. Sits in my hand very nicely. The light also nice. Let's go close if we can. You can see, look, I mean, it almost disappears in my hand, does the light. If I take the stout, and again, that kind of, you can't really see it in the hand. And that curvature is just nice for triggering. Not quite so much for thumbing it. I don't find it all that comfortable if I want to thumb the button. But certainly from the point of view of the trigger move, I do like the trigger move. So very much a quick look at it just to see what it is and what it does. Let's look. It's handling everything I want to put at it. It comes with a USB cable. Both of them are doing exactly what it says on the tin as far as I can see. I believe there's a white version. There might be a stainless steel version. I've got the blacks. Dave Kitson will be having a look at the white flask shaped one at some point. But for the moment, yeah, there you go. Those are the VaporFlasks, available all over the place. I'm not going to say one way or another, but I'm enjoying them. Yes, there we go. Now then, I've changed my microphone. Is that better, everybody? We'll find out in 30 seconds. Matt's having a listen. If the worst comes to the worst, and it might, then we'll share a microphone.
Yes.
We'll clip it there. So, to avoid that, to avoid going too far, let's hear what's happening in Wales. Here's Rydian Man to bring us up to date.
Hello everyone, it is now time yet again for an update on the Welsh politics and the debacle that's going on. This update is essentially summed up in crunch time is approaching. Now, what do I mean by crunch time? There are essentially 2 more stages left before the Public Health Wales Bill, which still includes references to nicotine inhaling devices, e-cigs, still in there. Now, stage 3 is scheduled for March the 8th. Stage 3 happens in front of all the assembly members. This is where amendments are debated and voted on there. Stage 3 doesn't happen at the HSCC like the previous two. It's in front of every Welsh Assembly member. Stage 3 is where any Assembly member can put forward amendments. How these amendments will affect the bill, I've got no idea, because at the time of doing this video, no amendments have been published on the Welsh Assembly website. I'm looking forward to see any amendments, and especially the ones regarding nicotine inhaling devices. I'd love to see more amendments that favour vapors, but who knows. The deadline for these amendments to be put in is March the 1st, and for all the Welsh vapors out there, that is St David's Day. That doesn't leave people like me and people like you much time to influence the assembly members in your area. We've said it time and time before, that you need to make yourself known to assembly members. Speak to them face to face, and this is the time where it will be most effective. If you have a constituency AM such as Ellen Jones in Ceredigion, who we've seen change from being very pro-vaping, thanks to the hard work of vapors in that area of Wales, to completely jumping ship and siding with Labour. We've said before that this is a concern, and it's a very big concern, but now it's not just about her, it's about rest of her party. That's Plaid Cymru. At stage 3, Plaid Cymru have what is known as a free vote. Each assembly member is allowed to vote what way they choose to. And that is correct at the moment. We've had it confirmed by one AM that I've seen with Simon Thurlow face to face, and also it's been confirmed by my regional AM via Twitter. So that opens up a can of worms compared to the other major parties, Labour, Conservatives and Lib Dems. They're all whipped. So that means whatever their Welsh leadership tells them, they have to follow it. So in terms of Labour, they'll vote for the bill, and in terms of Conservatives and Lib Dems, they'll vote against the bill because of the reasons that it has nicotine inhaling devices in it, which is, as we've discussed before, very, very stupid to be included. So what can you out there, do? We've had a petition. We've had a consultation. We've written letters. We've sent emails. We send tweets. All of this doesn't really have a face. What we need to do now, what I will certainly be doing, and I expect every Welsh Vapor to do the same that sees this video, is to go in person to your local assembly member's office. Not just your constituency AM, but your regional AMs as well. Remember, you have one constituency AM and up to 4 regional AMs, so there are lots of people to represent you there. Make use of it. After stage 3, if it is completed on March the 8th, stage 4 vote, and that is the final vote, the final stage, and then the Public Health Wales Bill becomes reality. It becomes law. This date is March the 15th, and this is the last day that any assembly business can happen before they break up for election campaign season. That is the end hurdle. We want the Public Health Wales Bill to fall. Now, Simon Thurlow has published 2 fantastic blogs looking at target seats that vapors can twist around. Twist around influence is the same thing. It's using your story and your knowledge as a vapor and a member of the community or the business community to help those AMs come to the correct decision. And I mean correct in terms of getting anything relating to vaping out. And the only way to do that is to fail the bill as a whole. How you do that is entirely up to you. Who you target is entirely up to you. But Simon's blogs are very informative in terms of what parties have a majority, what parties may have a resurgence in Wales. Because the Welsh Assembly will be having its elections on May the 5th. Doesn't give any time. If you want to influence your AM now, if there's one currently in power, the way to do it is, if you vote for this public health bill, I'm not voting for you and me. Simple as that. That's how I'm going to do it. If my local AM, Mike Hedges, who is from Labour, has another chat with me face to face, I will tell him that. I'll certainly tell him I'm not going to vote for him if he supports this. Because then he won't be representing me and the numerous other e-cig users in the constituency. So rather than ramble on, I'm going to finish there. But if stage 3 doesn't finish on the 8th, it is very unlikely that stage 4 vote will happen on March the 15th. Now, how they get around that, I don't know until it happens. So I would advise everyone to keep an eye on the Welsh Assembly website for the time being. Look at the business statements, and that is found by going onto the menu bar across the top, onto Assembly Business, and then you'll see a menu on the left, and then click on Business Statements, and the most recent one, which covers the next 3 weeks worth of Assembly business, will be there. And this is how I found out that the Public Health Wales Bill will be given 3 hours on March the 8th. Will 3 hours be enough? Got no clue. So stage 4 will be happening soon. I'll keep you up to date on that. Please keep up with what you are doing. If you're advocating already, carry on and advocate for others as well. Get them involved. Everybody must do this together. I'll keep in touch.
So there you go, that there was Rid talking about what's going on in Wales. Now we've had a go, there might be a little bit of a hiss, there might not. It should be working, hopefully. The microphone's down there, we're sharing it. Say hello to the microphone,
Hello.
please. There you are. Is that alright? It should be. We'll find out. We're experimenting, we're working really hard. I did notice while the VaporFlask review was on, everybody was looking at Cuboids. So why don't we have a look at the Cuboid? Do you fancy having a look at the Cuboid,
Yes.
Keith? We'll have a look at the Cuboid. Here it comes! And so, to the mod. That is the Cuboid. Straight into it. And this is the unassuming little black box. That is the Cuboid. And, you know, at first glance, with it not being powered on, you could be forgiven for thinking that it was just a battery holder. It's rather more than that. Let me show you around it. Start at the top. It's a very good place to start. And you can see there, a spring-loaded 510 connector. Decent juice well on it, with a little gap that'll let it spill everywhere if you want it to, but it's a juice well. To the side, at this point here, we have, as you may be able to see, the USB port. Let's get it a little bit closer for this bit. So as you can see there, nice USB port, takes the micro USB, which is becoming the standard just about everywhere now. On the front, which if I get this right and get the reflections and everything right, you'll be able to see the uppy downy button, which is a single bar one. You'll also notice it's a fingerprint magnet at this point. That is where the display is. Fire button is on the side here, so if I give that a little pop, you'll see it lights up, and you've got what is actually quite a straightforward display. And you'll see this one is set for stainless steel 316 temperature. I'm running at 560. I have an initial set of 100 watts. Well, it won't read the coil because there's no atomizer on, won't give you the power. And here are the two battery icons. Two battery icons, yes, because if I pop the bottom, it takes two batteries. Now, here's the thing. If you look, you can see there's a plus, there's a minus. You'll also see, if I get this in the right orientation, that there's a little, I shall use this super safe e-cig, there's a little gold connector there that hits onto the middle of this. This is so it can monitor the individual charge on either battery, for this thing will charge via USB and it is control charging. So let's put the batteries in, and there's the plus. So you want the plus to where the plus will be, positive in other words. And then t'other one goes in with the negative down over. You close the flap, the little clip clips into place, and bingo, bango, bongo, there you are, you're ready to go. And as you'll be able to see, I've been using this quite a bit. You'll recognise this, it's the same as the VTC Mini kind of menu system, but obviously moves on to take account of the two batteries. So what else will it handle? Well, let's see if we can get into the menu on this one. 3 clicks into the menu, going right, scrolls you through whatever you're in. So power mode, temperature NI, temperature TI, temperature SS 316, temperature memory 1, and power. So you've got the alternative that you can put your own TCR rating in for whatever coil you are using in that memory 1. I'm going to stick with where I'm at. I want to stick with the 100 watts going in, but you can move that again. You just go up and down in whatever. Coil, you can set that to locked. I tend not to. The amps you can change to give you the number of puffs, and just so you know, I've been using it, 4,426 puffs I've had on that. For, what is it? 13,738 seconds. But I'll keep the amps because that's what I want to know, and because I'm happy with that, I press the fire button and we're there, I think. Ah, yes, that's it, it's done. Right, so let's clag an atomizer on, and I am using currently the Ewell Rafale, I'll call it what you like, I don't mind. That's basically it. It's quite simple to get used to. The manual is reasonably good. My old eyes can read it, so it's not too bad. Keith, I think, might have a challenge with it. That's as you would expect. But what about in use? Well, as you've seen, 4,000 and odd drags on this. I've been using it a lot, and it is nice in the hand. It works quite nicely in the hand. I'm finding the battery life isn't too bad. Out of a set of those VTC 4s, I'll get the best part of a day. I do need either to recharge on the fly, or in actual fact I've got another set of batteries that I keep on charge. And yeah, I think 2 pairs of batteries get me a day and a half. So I'm halfway through the day now, having replaced these batteries at, what is it, probably 6 o'clock last night. It's now 11:30. I've been out of bed since 9. So yeah, 9.5 hours they've done me, probably longer actually. 9.5 hours they've done me, call it 10 for the sake of argument. I'll probably get another 2-3 hours out of them before I need to put the fresh ones in. And the mod itself actually keeps the power going right the way down until those 2 battery indicators are almost completely black, so there's no white on them. You only notice a drop off when there's kind of, if you like, 1 bar out of what is probably 15 bars on each battery. And it does seem to discharge them all, both batteries, very, very evenly, which is also nice. Does it get hot in the hand? Only if you use it, if you've constantly got it in your hand and you're constantly holding it, it gets up to body temperature. But it's not getting hot, the batteries aren't getting hot, so they're obviously capable of dealing with it. Excuse me while I take a drag. Let's try for a little closer up here on the menu while I take a drag, shall we? So here we are, temperature control mode. Now you can quite easily see from that the temperature control kicked in. What you didn't notice, or what I didn't notice while I was talking on it, that there was a drop off in heat. It maintained the temperature. It didn't cut it, so you get that kind of thing going on. It's smooth. It doesn't kind of change the experience in any way. It keeps it constant temperature going right through. I really rather like that. From the point of view of as if I would ever go out with only one device, I've actually gone out just with the Cuboid and this Rafale tank on top with a bottle of juice. I've gone out on the morning, not having taken anything else, and it's seen me through. Thus far it hasn't flackered. However, there's one thing I do want to show you to be aware of. Let's go back to closer up you can. You might remember I pointed out that there is this little tongue, this little sensor down here that connects onto this copper plate, brass plate, in order to be able to sense the voltage between the batteries, if you like. So it can read the voltage on each one of the 2 batteries that's in there. If you've got slightly longer batteries, and I would say that this would be most noticeable with nipple tops, when you close the bottom, you might find that there's a little bit of pressure on that, such that you don't see the display light up, and you might have to jiggle the bottom a little bit to get there. Now I will say, with the Sony VTC4s that have been supplied with this, that doesn't apply. But I do have another set of batteries where the length is such that the door doesn't necessarily shut correctly. This hinge has got a little bit of give in it, and sometimes that little gold tongue, finger, whatever you want to call it, sometimes the little tongue with a longer battery might not make an attachment. That said, if you're running with the VTC4s, which in my case came with the device, it's absolutely fine and lights up every time. So that's kind of a quick run through the Cuboid. I'm liking it alongside my releurs, which do give me considerably longer battery life, it has to be said. This would be a mod of choice. I'm liking it that much. The idea that it has replaceable batteries is great for me. Even though I've not really been a fan of charging them separately, I do like USB charging. It does both, and the USB charge appears to be accurate as well. So there you go. that's the Cuboid. Back to the studio. And indeed we are. And the train now standing on platform 5 is the 1756 from Edinburgh to King's Cross. I knew I'd forget to do that because I've been messing about. Yes, so just to quickly recap, Cuboid I like. The Cubis is the tank, it's alright. The Cuboid itself, nice piece of kit. And I did say in chat that it would seem that there's a number of different devices sharing the same chipset. That would appear to be the case. And at the moment, that seems to be working quite well because everything I'm using has that chipset, so I'm not complaining. It's good. I like it. It's nice. Yes, you said it was quite heavy.
Heavy, yes.
Yes. It's not light, but then we're men.
Of course.
We like something hefty in the hand. And I'm told, I don't know how true it is, I'm told women like something hefty in the hand.
Right. Oh, well.
Is that true?
Mind boggles.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
It does.
Now, I've been doing some beta testing.
Right.
You'll have noticed during the course of that Cuboid review, call it what you will, I was vaping quite strongly, and I've been vaping strongly on a new juice that's being developed for the market. And I thought people might be interested in it.
Right.
It's different. Have a look and you'll see. I want to talk to you today about an experimental juice I've been sent. It's being developed, it's all unlabelled and everything else. It's being developed to take account, apparently, of vegetarians and vegans' desires. So it's kind of vegetably flavoured. This particular one is called Legume d'Avril Primero. That's the working title on it. Legume d'Avril Primero. What does it taste of? Well, let me try and I'll have a blast on it and try and tell you what it tastes of. I've loaded it into a Raffaelli on my Joytech Cuboid mod. So let's give it a go and I'll try and tell you what the flavour is. What I'm getting is beans, like a 57 varieties one. There's a hint of sprouts. There's a hint of sprouts in there. There's definitely peas. And there's a touch of cabbage running through the whole thing. So it's a full-on vegetable experience that you're getting out of this juice. As I say, it's in an experimental phase at the moment. The manufacturers of it are a little worried that there may be some side effects that people could find distressing. I'm personally not finding that particularly distressing. Whether there are any side effects or not, it's very hard to say at this point in time. I'll just have another talk. I don't know whether it's me though. There's an awful smell of it. It's launched on April the 1st.
I don't think the global warming saved the planet. People will be very happy with that.
I really hope Simon Chapman only watches that bit of the show and doesn't get any further and does something in a bloody study about it. Oh, dear God.
I tell you what, Dave, I am so glad you followed through on that review after talking about it.
Does it have on the bottle not suitable for people with IBS?
What's Ian Duncan Smith got to do with it? Like,
IBS.
I've been told many times I've got gear acquisition syndrome. It's gas. Yes. Is that a new keyboard you need?
I'm trying to drink.
Oh, somebody's just said, Trevor J's just said it must be really shit juice. Right. Okay, enough.
I was really going to be excited about that. I thought, Ian, a new sort of developed juice.
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
No. Right. Serious again?
Yes.
If you're not aware of the guy that's coming up next, you really ought to be. I first met David Sweanor. It'll be 5 years ago now, in London at a seminar, and we had a good chat. And we're going to be having a chat next week. I'm going to bring you the interview next week, but I wanted you to be aware of what a proper e-cig advocate who has been involved in tobacco control is thinking. David Sweanor is a fabulous chap. He is completely pragmatic. He sees the truth. He gets it. You'll get it. Enjoy.
What are the interventions you have? And whether you're talking about, somebody who wants to play goal in house league hockey, somebody who's using IV drugs, somebody who likes having sex with strangers, somebody who's smoking cigarettes, it doesn't matter what the activity is. If you've got something that's at risk of causing death, injury, or disease, there's 4 main areas of intervention. You can do things to try to prevent somebody from ever engaging in the dangerous activity. So if you say you're thinking of taking up paragliding, maybe I can talk you out of it. You do things to try to get people who are engaging in dangerous activity to stop doing it. Like saying, so you're having unprotected sex with strangers, let me tell you why you shouldn't do that anymore. You do things to protect third parties. I see you really like throwing a javelin, how about you don't do it in a crowded park on Sunday afternoon? And you do things to reduce the risk for people who are going to engage in the activity. So if you're going to have sex with strangers, use condoms. If you're going to be playing house league hockey and you're going to play goal, get good equipment. We do things in those 4 broad areas. And it was pretty obvious to me that by the late 1980s, we needed to focus more on reducing risk for people who are still going to be using nicotine. And in fact, with the Tobacco Products Control Act that we got passed in 1988, there was a section 17 sub 1 that I helped draft that said the restrictions on advertising, free samples, etc., you could get an exemption from those if you could show that you've got a product that's less hazardous than an existing tobacco product and would be used in place of an existing tobacco product, which wasn't actually that tough an onus, and it could be done through regulation. Nobody tried using it. The cigarette companies took the legislation to court. They got it thrown out in the Supreme Court. And of course, suing the government is like playing Kelvin ball against Kelvin. I mean, you ultimately lose because governments make up the rules. The government came back with new legislation. It was even more draconian, no longer had that harm reduction component to it. And harm reduction went from being something that was just seen as what you do in public health, and tobacco control was part of public health, to an area that you just don't do it. I mean, what we need is abstinence. So the World Health Organization estimates that 1 billion people worldwide are going to die this century from cigarette smoking, assuming we continue to do exactly the sort of things that we're doing now. So that's the status quo. I mean, continue our interventions, but that's what's going to happen, just given how many people are smoking and what we can project is going to happen as incomes increase in lower income countries, et cetera. So 17% of all deaths in Canada this year, they'll attribute to direct result of cigarette smoking. And yet, as much as we demonize nicotine, nicotine isn't the reason they're dying. They're dying because they're sucking smoke into their lungs. So anything that we ingest by sucking smoke into our lungs will cause the diseases smoking causes. You will get lung cancer, you will get heart disease, you will get various other forms of cancer, you'll get emphysema. There are very elevated risk of these things. And that's why you go into the homes in the Himalayas where people heat their home and do their cooking with an open fire without a chimney, and you see all the diseases that are caused by smoking being caused by just breathing in smoke. If we got our caffeine by smoking tea leaves instead of brewing them, we'd be having the same sort of problem. So essentially, policy should come down to 4 simple words. It's the smoke, stupid. And this has been reiterated by very reputable groups like the Royal College of Physicians in the UK that has been very good on the issue of nicotine harm reduction. We've known about it at least since the 1970s with the work Mike Russell was doing on nicotine in the UK. There was work that preceded that by decades. We have the example of snus in Sweden, which is an oral form of tobacco that somebody just sticks between their lip and their gum. It's done a terrific job of reducing smoking, at least among males in Sweden, to the lowest rate you find anywhere in the OECD, and their disease rates are lower than you find in any other country. It's very hard to find any harm that's caused by people who are using snus. They're getting their nicotine, they're getting it without smoke. And we've known that if we look at innovative technology, there's actually a really interesting history here, because it isn't just a matter of what might we do now to replace cigarettes. It's where did cigarettes come from? Because people used nicotine for a long time before we had cigarettes. Cigarettes are relatively recent, starting beginning of the last century, and that was because of technology, of developing a cigarette manufacturing machine, the Bonsac machine, that allowed the manufacture of these little effeminate cigarettes to replace things like cigars and chewing tobacco and various other things that people weren't inhaling smoke into their lungs. So if you go back 100 years, lung cancer was a quite rare form of cancer. Early in my career, when I would talk to doctors, researchers who were training back in the 20s, they'd talk about being called in to examine somebody or to see somebody who had lung cancer, being told, this is such a rare condition, you may never see it again in your career. And little did they know. Now, back then, the big problem, the biggest cause of cancer deaths by far was stomach cancer. It wasn't lung cancer. Lung cancer was rare. Stomach cancer was huge. And innovative technology hit in that area as well. So while we had cigarettes come along as innovative technology that took nicotine delivery to something where you suck smoke into your lungs and caused lung cancer rates to skyrocket, and by the time of the Second World War, they were now the leading cause of cancer death in North America, stomach cancer plummeted. So in a 30-year period, stomach cancer went from being the most common cancer cause of cancer deaths in North America to falling by half. In the next 30 years, it fell by half again. And it continued to go down to the point that it's relatively rare. So in the mid-1940s in Canada, stomach cancer was still the leading cause of cancer deaths. It was killing more people than lung cancer, but it was on the way down, and it kept plummeting. And what happened? What sort of expensive government-run campaign? Well, none of that. It was innovative technology. It was refrigerators. Once we had refrigerators, once the private sector said, I think we can use the technology to come up with something consumers would like to have, they can afford to have, it will allow them to eat more of what they would like to eat and not have stuff go bad on them, and they're not going to have as much highly smoked, pickled, salted foods. They can get more fresh fruits and vegetables if they want. We can transport it around now so that we got rid of stomach cancer, to the point that it became quite rare. Innovative technology. So a really interesting example where the private sector solved the leading cause of cancer death. Well, could we now solve the problem we have with smoking by essentially innovative technology again, re-engineering nicotine? So in effect, it's a back to the future. Let's figure out, can we give people nicotine without them sucking smoke into their lungs? They used to do it, seemed to work. Can we go back to something like that? Works in other places, works in Sweden, seems to be working with an awful lot of vapors. And so I think what we've got is a classic example of a really simple idea that get your nicotine without the smoke. it's the smoke, stupid. But it's meeting what Saul Bellow talked about in the Dean's December is zones of incomprehension. You know, something that is so bloody obvious, we can't even see it. So that there's all this opposition to something like vaping rather than the idea that, my gosh, this is a solution. And again, that's not really unusual when you look at, what was the opposition to vaccinations when they first coming out. And that was even stronger because, you were, among other things, interfering with the will of God by deciding who was going to live rather than let God do it. But there's been opposition to any new interventions on public health. It's very rare to have something that's accepted. Thomas Kuhn in Structured Scientific Revolutions helps us understand how this sort of thing happens. But in this case, it isn't just a matter of changing a paradigm and dealing with people whose careers are bent on the status quo of them being the experts telling people what to do. I think what happened, and I think I played a big role in causing this problem, and that in battling cigarette companies, the thing I would do as a lawyer is I would try to destroy their credibility, which makes it much easier to win debates and get policy. That's just what we do as lawyers, right? And they made it very easy because they really took on the role of dragon. They were saying, no, we don't believe there's any evidence that smoking's caused any disease. We don't think smoking's addictive, et cetera, et cetera. So it became very easy to demonize them, which made it much easier to get policies through on dealing with tobacco advertising and health warnings and getting smoking off airplanes and out of workplaces. But what happened, I think, is an awful lot of my colleagues internalized that to say this isn't just a tactic, but this is real. They are truly evil. And now this isn't a battle for health. It's a fight against sin. It's a fight against the devil. This is a black and white issue. They're a dragon and we're dragon slayers. And it went from being merely about public health, I think, early in what we were trying to do on cigarette smoking and disease, to being more of a political, ideological campaign against an industry, and then that morphed to being not just against smoking, but against any sort of tobacco product that they would have, including smokeless tobacco products that are massively less hazardous than cigarettes, but also against the smokers, to say, well, if they're the devil and they're causing this, these people must be sinners, and therefore, we need to really whack them. And no alternative was acceptable because I think it fit into that idea of sin. It's like some sort of very fire and brimstone religion saying, you're doing something that's a sin, and to deal with this, you have to repent. You have to feel really awful about what you're doing. You have to do penance. It has to be really difficult for you to overcome this terrible thing you've done. And if you don't, you face perdition. You go to hell or you get lung cancer or whatever. And that paradigm, it's really a quit or die. You've got to quit. And by quit, we mean not just smoking, but any form of tobacco, any form of nicotine. You have to do it now and you have to do it forever. And then we ended up with this bootleggers and Baptists problem where when anybody would come up with ideas to replace cigarettes, they could give alternatives, those things were attacked. Because, of course, that's like saying, how about we just allow a little bit of sin? It's not acceptable. So when we had nicotine therapeutic products come up, the Nicorette type products, really, really heavily regulated. You need to protect people from this. You have to have a government regulator that makes sure that you don't deliver very much nicotine, you don't deliver it for very long, you don't deliver it in a consumer acceptable way, because what if somebody liked this stuff and started using it? And
that's David Sweanor. And as people have pointed out, David, I've known him for, as I say, 4 or 5 years now, and we get on like a house on fire. And he's very, very keen that the dragon slayers, as he's putting it, are removed from the equation. What did you make of what you heard, Keith?
I thought he put a very good slant on it, really. This demonising business is all too true, isn't it?
Yes.
And the political impact. Really, it's the politicians that have delivered that, isn't it?
Well, it is. And every time I've heard David speak, and I've heard him every time he's been this side of the Atlantic, because where he goes, I want to be. And I'm that fond of how he speaks and what he says. is always making the point that no matter what the anti-e-cig people want to say, the fact of the matter is they're tilting at windmills. They are Don Quixote. They are actually wrong in what they're doing.
Yes.
Completely wrong in what they're doing, which is why I kind of went where I went earlier on about the whole Google thing, and how further in that, and there's 40 minutes of that and a question and answer section as well, and we'll post the link underneath the video in YouTube and wherever it's at. In fact, if anybody's got it, just bung it at Ridian and let Ridian drop it into chat as well while we're on. It's well worthwhile spending 40 minutes of your time to sit and watch the whole thing, because, and bear in mind where David Sweanor is coming from, tobacco control as a lawyer attacking the tobacco industry, because that was what his job was. He is pointing out what I've been trying to point out and never really been able to find the right words. People like to use substances to alter their minds. We all do it. Whether it's caffeine, whether it's alcohol, whether it's nicotine, whether it's magic mushrooms, marijuana, or anything else. People like to alter their mind. Even capsaicin, hot chilies alter your mind, right? All people, like to alter their minds one way or another. It could be tea, it could be Horlicks, it could be anything. But people like to use substances. And the fact of the matter is, it's going to be the case as time moves on that people who have never smoked will start and use e-cigs, and there is no problem with that. There just isn't. When you've got John Britton saying that using an e-cig is like drinking a few espressos a day, that's the level of harm, that's the level of risk we're talking about. It isn't a problem. It's not an issue unless you are on the side of good, where you have this God-given commandment to go and stop anything that looks as though people might be enjoying themselves. Excuse me, I'm about to just piss those people off.
Well, you see, to some extent, I know it is different, but sugar, I mean, is the latest thing to be demonised, isn't it?
Don't even get me
Looking
started.
at in the context of obesity and all the rest of it, and regulating the amount of sugar in drinks and God knows what else.
You're saying I'm fat like?
Well, you know, it's another example, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely is. I mean, look, the bottom line on all of this, and this is, I'm actually going to try not to take a rabid libertarian view on this, because I do understand that can upset certain people. But the bottom line on it is, man is not alone in seeking to alter the process in his brain. Elephants do it. Chimpanzees do it. All kinds of creatures do it. They will go and eat fermented fruit because the fermented fruit gives them alcohol. Right?
Yeah.
There are animals out there that will go and they will eat tobacco leaves.
Yes, I've never looked at it.
You
Like
can
that,
only
yes.
assume that they're using the nicotine for a little bit of relaxation, a bit of kickback. You know?
Mm.
It's in the psyche of the being to find ways to get rid of the stresses of the civilized life. It's a fact. It's a fact of life. It's what people do. Even chocolate.
Yes.
And who doesn't like chocolate?
And that's regarded as addictive.
Oh yes, it's all of these things. So where Dave is coming from, Dave Sweanor, where he's coming from is an acknowledgement of the fact that people use all sorts of different things. And you heard him say 4 different interventions, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
But the whole quit or die thing, the whole stop people from doing it altogether, just doesn't work. I mean, you've just got to look, as he said, at the having sex with other people thing, which, frankly, generally speaking, is better than having sex by yourself.
That's one way of looking at it.
I speak from experience. You know, sex is fun for one, but it's bloody good fun for two. If you're going to have sex with other people, then it's probably a good idea to take precautions. If you're going to chuck javelins, don't do it on a Sunday afternoon in a park. It's all sense, and I would love to put Dave Sweanor in front of Glance. Have 20 Dave Sweanors, as many Glances as you like. Get them on national telly, because I tell you now, I know who'd lose, and it wouldn't be Dave Sweanor. So, dear viewer, what I'm aiming to do next week, I've already emailed him. We talk quite a lot in email. Next week, we're going to use technology.
All right.
We are. Dave Sweanor, the two Daves. We're going to be Skyping, and we're going to record it. And I'll bill it as an interview, but it isn't. It's a chat, because we just talk.
That'll be interesting.
It will. I'm really hoping so. We'll find out what's going on in Canada. We'll find out what he's got on the stocks. We'll find out what steps he's taking, and I'm going to try and get some advice as to what we need to be doing over here in the UK to sort everything out. Does that sound all right?
Yes. I mean, he comes across in a completely unemotional way. He's not ranting, is he? He's just... Do you know what I mean? You can listen.
I could take that two ways, but yeah, you're right.
No,
you're right.
no,
No, he's one of the most charismatic speakers I have ever had the joy of listening to. The man speaks sense like it's going out of fashion. Right, we need to get the last video underway before we end the show. And this one's been held over and held over and held over. And Ridian must think I don't like him. It's not true. I hate him. So I've what? No, I've got to be.
Carry on.
I've got to be nice. No, he's a good lad. He's Rid. He's interviewing Jocelyn Davis next week. We'll have that footage as well. But he's a very big fan of the TFV4. You know.
All right.
Does that mean anything to you, Keith?
The 4-bit, isn't
TFV4.
TFV.
TFV4. Cracking tank, and it's got about 5,372 different coil cores you can put into it.
Right.
This is just one.
Recently, I've got myself some spare coils for the SMOK TFV4, and I've got three types here. I've got the nickel N2 Air on your right, the sextuple coil, so 6 coils. We're going to have another deeper look at that in a bit, and then we've also got some titanium on the left. So personally, I think the titanium ones are pretty much self-explanatory. I'll get them on the go later. The Ni2 Air we'll also have a look at, but first I want to have a look at the sextuple coil for the SMOK TFV4. This is what one looks like out of the packet. This one has been kindly donated by Wayne the King Vape, who's thoroughly put all the SMOK coils through their paces, and as you can see, they're a little bit dark on the inside. Now, how can I tell it's a sextuple? Let's get that in there. There we go. We've got the SMOK logo, and then we've got this nice picture by here. And because I've got a little bit of the reflection from my lights, essentially it's got 6 coils within this circle. Now, I don't know whether I'm being thick, but when I saw it on the website, I thought, oh right, okay, they'll have 6 really small coils within the chimney. And as you can see, that's not quite the case, because you've only got 3 visible holes there. So what I'm actually interested in is to determine whether they're more than likely going to be dual parallel in each of them, because that's 3 times 2 is 6. But what I would like to know is how they're actually set up, whether it's literally 2 parallel as you would in a dripper, or if they're slightly offset, you know, slightly offset. So instead of being like that, they're more of a it's really hard to tell up close, more of an overlapping rather than in line with each other. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this dud head apart and have a look, shall we? And take the insulator off. Right, okay, you see like that. And you've got roughly 2 days. There you go, actually, you've got 1, 2, 3 points up towards the base, and you've got 3 back in the sides, the grooves on the insulator. That's why the legs take the insulator to it. Now, what I've got to do now is see, probably a little bit, and that is a little quickly, so I'm going to go out. Not quickly, right, so I'm going to do now, let's see. Look at the bottom. And immediately I can see that these are 2 parallel coils, and they don't look offset to me just by pulling them out. Now what we've got here, oh, there we go. Right, so that is one of the coils there. Well, what was one of the coils, and then you can clearly see how black it's got. There you go, you can clearly see that it is quite dark. It is quite dark, and if I run my finger across it, you can see there is carbon there. You go, yeah, that is carbon. So that wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but let's see if we can take one of these out whole, including the wick. It just looks like they're 2 parallel builds. 2 parallel, So I've taken them out, 2 of them, one here, one there, and it doesn't look like the two coils offset from each other. It is essentially, and this sort of proves it a bit, it is just one parallel coil. Obviously you've got the waves in there because it's been wrapped like that. Yeah, you've essentially got, and a little bit twisted because I'm a little bit silly. Now this is the wicking material. It's not normal cotton. It is something entirely different. It's not Japanese cotton, it's not rayon, it's not like your organic cotton, it's not cotton wool. It is, from what I've been told by Wayne at King Vape, is that it's hybrid, and I use that term very loosely. It's a hybrid of cellulose and cotton. It because it's wet, it's really hard to tell how it feels, but there are multiple layers of this cotton cellulose wicking material, and I guess that is why it wicks so well with thick juices. Yeah, I thought I'd like to share.
So there you go. That was rid with the Sextopple, the Sextopple TFV4 coil. The challenge that we're setting him is to recoil it into a nonotuple. So he's got 3 parallel coils in each channel, in stainless steel, with Clapton coils.
I'll have a crack at that next week.
You're going to do that, are you? There you go.
Yes.
That'll all be good.
Yeah,
That'll all be
will be.
good. So that he's just gone pfft in chat he has. Pfft. That's what he said. Pfft.
Right.
He's been watching too much over the engine. Pfft. There you go. That drags us kicking and screaming towards the end of the show, Keith.
Right.
It are 10 o'clock at night. It are. So it are. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, tell your friends. If you haven't, tell us, because we can't put it right if we don't know what's wrong. Not right,
Will we
Keith?
hear more of your experience with the vegetable juice? Will we? Is that?
It's eminently possible. You just never know. We'll see how it goes as it's developed.
Yes.
Because if it can get rid of the airiness of the whole thing, the gaseousness, then it could be absolutely fabulous.
Yes.
I mean, who doesn't want to vape a sprout and bean juice?
It could end up being a sort of nutritious supplement, couldn't it, really? Holland and Barrett might be selling it.
Yes. Yes, I can just imagine that in every Whole Food shop up and down the country.
Yes.
Come and try our juice.
Vegetarian juice.
Absolutely. Good God Almighty. I do apologise for
Sorry.
my sense of humour. I'm so sorry about that. I really am. But thank you so much for tuning in and for watching. Thanks for doing the technical stuff, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
One little bloody microphone. I kid you not. It's murder, isn't it?
You can hardly see it.
I know, it's tiny. Tiny weeny. But it just remains for us to say it. We know the script. You know the script, don't you?
Yeah.
You know the script. Just remains for us to say it until we see you next time. From all of us here, vape on! Vape hard! And don't let the bastards grind you down! See you next time. Take care till then. Bye bye.